How's it going, everyone? Got some unfortunate news to cover in this video as the latest studio has unfortunately been shut down. It's not like it's a gigantic studio, and honestly, felt like the writing was a little bit on the wall as far as it goes with Pieces Interactive. It's not one that I think a lot of you guys are familiar with, but they did put out a notable game somewhat recently, so we'll talk about that as that studio is no longer around. And also, kind of tying into that, in the same year that EA cut 700 jobs, its CEO has earned $25 million. I almost want to laugh at that, but obviously it's not a laughing matter. It's just more of a depressing state of America, corporate America. So we'll get to that in a little bit as well. But right off the top, Pieces Interactive has officially been shut down. They've been around since 2007, and the official post on their website notes, Pieces Interactive released over 10 titles on PC, console, and mobile since 2007. Both our own concepts such as Puzzlegeddon, Fret Nice, Leviathan Warships, RoboSurf, and Kill to Collect, as well as work-for-hire titles such as Magicka 2, and several DLCs for Magic. Our current list includes Paradox Interactive, Tecmo Koei, Arrowhead Game Studios, Koch Media, and Race Room Entertainment. In 2017, Pieces Interactive were acquired by Embracer Group after working with the expansion for Titan Quest Ragnarok, and third expansion for Titan Quest Atlantis, and then our latest release was the reimagining of Alone in the Dark. They haven't really clarified the shutdown or as far as released a statement. It's just noted that it has been officially shut down by Embracer. They usually drop a press release saying thank you or something to that effect, but nothing like that has even been stated. They just know 2007 to 2024, thanks for playing with us. Embracer Group has been cutting costs, so it's not like this is all too surprising, and one would imagine that the Alone in the Dark remake wasn't like a huge home run as far as commercial numbers go, but this is one reality of the gaming landscape, and you've been seeing it over and over again. Yes, you will have these Stellar Blades. You will have titles like Black Myth Wukong that are new IPs, big budget titles coming from relatively unknown studios that do pop off, but it has been over and over again that you've seen major titles like Immortals of Aveum, like Callisto Protocol, like Forspoken. They come out and they absolutely flop. And I'm not saying Alone in the Dark had this massive budget attached to it. I don't know the financials that were attached to it, but it's still significant. It's not like back in the day where games were relatively inexpensive in comparison to now. Nowadays, games have just gotten so expensive that if you have one fumble of a release, especially a bigger budget title, like if you go back and you look at what Pieces Interactive did prior to Alone in the Dark reimagining, it was a lot of smaller scale releases. Well, Alone in the Dark was a bigger scale release and unfortunately didn't do all too well, and Embracer Group has been cutting costs. You've not only heard about it with Pieces and Alone in the Dark reimagining, but think about this. The Deus Ex game that was in development or at early stages, that is no longer happening. So if they decided to cut costs at the level of a proven IP like Deus Ex, a game that you would think would do fairly well, if they're gonna cut that, Pieces Interactive, Alone in the Dark was already far along, but you would imagine that Embracer's doing a lot of restructuring as far as how they're handling their repertoire and what they have in their portfolio. The THQ Nordic idea of just throwing a lot of crap at the wall and then some of that stuff would stick, it's good in theory, especially because a lot of their games are smaller scale. When you look at something like SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, that's a game that did fairly well and ultimately, was probably a very profitable endeavor for them, but across the board, it's not going to be that, especially when you have something like an Alone in the Dark, which was at a bigger budget, and they were trying to reimagine a franchise with some history to it. The game's got, I want to say, like a 63 on Metacritic? Yeah, 63 on the dot on Metacritic, and the reception wasn't all too strong. Obviously, the competition for horror games is at a relatively high level these days with the Resident Evil remakes and just a lot of quality horror games dropping, that a $60 major title like this. Also coming out on March 20th, like days before Dragon's Dogma 2 dropped, and look, you're never going to find that perfect time to drop a game where there's nothing else coming out. Remember, Alone in the Dark was originally scheduled for a release in October of 2023, where that game was literally being sent out to slaughter, coming out right around the same time as Alan Wake 2 and Spider-Man 2. They thankfully delayed the game until January, and then they delayed the game again until March. January did have some notable releases, but you're never gonna escape that. Unless you're dropping a game in July, you're never going to escape a wave of big titles coming out. Like, there's just so many players in the game now in terms of, yes, game development time has gotten longer. Yes, games are more expensive, but there are so many big-time players dropping big titles that you're still getting a bevy of high-quality games coming out every time. And even though game dev cycles have gotten longer, the actual quantity of games hasn't, and there's more players dropping more games, that you're never gonna find that perfect time to drop a game like Alone in the Dark. And even if you did drop this game in July, you can't blame competition for a game like this. It just wasn't received at a high level. So unfortunate for Pieces Interactive, that's a studio that has been shut down forever. And also, kind of related topic, this was noted by PSU. In the same year that EA has cut 700 jobs, its CEO has earned $25 million during the same 12-month period that, again, EA did lay off nearly 700 employees. This figure was disclosed during a recent financial report for EA's fiscal year 2024, a period in which the company paid out over $60 million to some of the publisher's top executives. This is the same period where EA laid off around 5% of its global workforce. Look, I get it that executives at a high level are going to be rich. It's just, at some point, can we just be like, yo, we can scale this back a little bit and also think about the common man? Like, Andrew Wilson would be fine without $25 million. I get it. I'm not here to get on a political debate about how finances should be distributed, but you are laying off 700 employees, and also, I believe this 12-month period was during, you know, you're looking at the time of games, and EA's dropping a lot of games, but not everything is a home run. EA published, as a part of their EA Originals label, the aforementioned Immortals of Aveum. That game did not turn out well for Ascendant Studios. I don't know if the layoffs at Ascendant are included in the 700 employee number, but you get the idea. A lot of games do flop, and ultimately those publishers and those developers, I should say, EA is the publisher, those developers are impacted, and those development studios are going to be restructured. But when you look at the CEO and just top executives making out like bandits when it comes to how much money they're raking, like, yeah, yo, top executives should be paid handsomely. They should be compensated. EA rakes in a lot of money, and you know what? People at the top of the food chain, they should get compensated, but at the same time, like, I feel like there's a healthy middle ground we can reach where we can preserve some jobs and not, you know, have $25 million being paid out. But what do I know? I'm not a finance expert. You know, corporate America is gonna do what corporate America does, and it is what it is. Wilson also, as noted in this post, he has been talking about various things that I think people are going to push back against, talking about implementing advertisements in AAA games, and it could be a meaningful driver of growth. Also, talked about utilizing AI to speed up development. We'll see how that ends up. But yeah, Andrew Wilson, yeah, that dude's being paid. That dude is being paid, but at the same time, it kind of sucks seeing EA, a lot of EA employees, unfortunately, lose their jobs. Game development, very cyclical business. We all know this, but sometimes these top executives are just, and most of the times, these top executives are making out like absolute bandits. But that is gonna do it for me. Again, unfortunately, Pieces Interactive has officially shut down the latest studio under Embracer and THQ Nordic that is no longer going to be around. They had a 17-year run and just recently dropped Alone in the Dark, and Andrew Wilson of EA, he's making out like a bandit, even if EA is cutting a lot of jobs. It is what it is. This is corporate America for you. That's going to do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.